Hey everyone, Car Fryer here, and today I will be showing you how to turn a simple Minecraft survival house into an amazing base that will seriously stand out in your Minecraft world. And again, there's nothing wrong with building a simple house in survival. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. I am just here to show you how you can turn that simple house into something much more detailed. And I have seen a lot of houses where the player has just built a simple wooden box, and used that out as their house. And again, there's nothing wrong with this. I am just here to show you how you can turn this into something amazing. So, yeah, that is all I really have to say. So let's get started. We can teleport to our area. Teleport. Not working. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. Yes, that's better. So, here I have built 2 copies of a very, very simple Minecraft house. And as you can see, very, very, very simple. Easy to build. And perfect square made out of 1 block. There's 9 blocks on a side, 3 blocks tall, completely made out of oak wood. And if you go inside, you will see that the ceiling is only 2 blocks tall. Makes it very easy for you to bump your head when you jump. When you try to jump in this house, you will bang your head on the ceiling. It is guaranteed. So I have furnished this house with torches placed randomly on the walls to light the entire thing up, and your standard survival materials. As you can see, crafting table, chest, furnace, etc. And there is also a bed. So yeah, it's very, very simple build. So I have built again, this is 9 blocks square, 3 blocks high. So I built another copy of this same exact build to show you how you can turn something like this build into a far more detailed house that will stand out in your Minecraft survival world. So yeah, I'll be turning this house into something much more interesting. So, and this video is recorded in real time. So we will start by first adding a frame to this house. And a frame is a very important thing to have on a build, as it adds much more detail, and it is also crucial in the planning process of your build. So for this build, we are using oak logs, very inexpensive resource, very easy to find in your survival world. Therefore, it is ideal for framing. So we will extend these frames to good height and place more oak logs at certain intervals along the walls to break up the expanse of oak planks. So we will also put some in front of the door to create a more detailed entrance. And as you can see, it's already starting to become a more detailed project. So our next step here will be to extend the ceiling up 1 block so you don't bang your head when you try to jump. Gives you as the player a little bit more space in your survival house. So we will be extending the walls and therefore the ceiling up 1 block with more oak wood planks. And we will be using a different block for the ceiling, spruce slabs. So this adds a total of 1.5 blocks to your ceiling height and gives the player much more space. So we will fill in the ceiling here with the spruce slabs. And now our next step here is to add our next step is to add some windows. Windows are crucial in your survival house because you need to be sure that there aren't any creepers lurking outside your base, so you don't get surprised when you leave your house. So we will be using white stained glass panes for this build. You can use any type of block you want for the windows. Glass panes just add a separate, they just add a layer of depth to your build and make things a little more interesting to look at. You don't have to use glass panes either. You can use other blocks for windows, such as iron bars for a more dungeon-like stronghold type build. Or if you want, you can use fence blocks, any type of fence block, if you are building a more medieval type house. Glass panes or glass blocks can be used for almost any build. They work well in modern settings, but yeah, we will be adding some more windows eventually. They won't just be on the front of the building. So what we're doing here is adding a separate room off to the side of the house, so the house itself will not be a perfect rectangle. This adds way more detail to the house and makes things more interesting to look at. And in survival, an extra room off to the side can be used for almost any purpose you can think of. You can turn it into the entrance for a mine shaft, a storage room, or if you've gathered the sufficient resources, you can turn it into a brewing or enchanting room. So we'll destroy the wall here to make this room accessible to the player and fill in the floor with more oak planks. And also we will, of course, extend the ceiling to cover this room as well. And it is also necessary to extend your frame. If you are adding more rooms, it is necessary to extend your frame to include those rooms as well. So, yeah, this adding more rooms, while rectangular builds can be very, very interesting, adding a separate room off to the side can add a whole new level of detail. And what we're doing here is adding just more windows in the walls, and you don't have to include a window on every single wall. As you can see, I skipped a couple of wall segments, and I will come back to those later. But and your windows don't all have to be the same size either. You can throw in some smaller windows if you want, or some bigger windows, as I am doing here. They don't even have to be a perfect square or rectangle. You can see later in this tutorial, I will show you that your windows do not necessarily have to be square. And you can have some segments without windows as well. This just adds more variety to your build and make sure the entire thing isn't so uniform. So our next step will be to go into the house and add a little bit more detail on the inside. So what we will be doing here is utilizing a very effective strategy, very subtle, but it does add more detail to your build, using a second block and creating a checkerboard pattern can create the look of a tiled floor. And I use this strategy very, very frequently in my builds. And especially if the blocks have a similar appearance, like the oak logs and oak planks, it is a very, very subtle effect. So we will finish laying the tiles, if you will, in this floor. And don't always have to use wood either. Stone blocks, like andesite, for example, polished varieties, you can use these to create a very interesting stone tile pattern that can add detail to your build as well. So, yeah, there's the floor, there's the finished floor, and so what we're going to do next is go outside again, and we will be adding a little bit more detail to the walls. So we're going to create a little more detailed entrance here. And next step is any space that you might have between your new added rooms and the rest of your house can be used to create a small garden or animal pen. Both of these things can be very, very useful in survival mode. It is also useful to just have like a small garden or a pen that's attached to your house, so you don't have to walk down a long path to get to it. And we'll be using a very interesting strategy here, and that is using spruce doors, or as a matter of fact, any type of door as a fence. This is a very interesting design that you can use in your builds, and this strategy is very, very useful for making animal pens, because as you can see, if we destroy the rest of the grass blocks here, it creates a separate layer underground. Like the inside of the pen, the wall is 2 blocks high, and if you're like an animal in the pen just doing your thing, you can't escape because the wall is 2 blocks high. You can't jump over that. But if you're on the outside, you can get in anytime you want by either jumping over or opening the door. Like so. So what we're going to be doing here is replacing the dirt blocks with grass, because this creates a more natural looking environment, and later we will go in with some bone meal and add some flowers and grass. But now we have these dirt layers, and we don't want that. So what we're gonna do is cover those up eventually. Yeah, so what we're gonna do now is create a sort of foundation for our house. And by placing cobblestone blocks, it makes the house appear like it's not just pasted onto the world. It was built by a player. It wasn't just like spawning with like a structure block or something. It gives the house, especially since if you're building in survival, it gives the entire thing like a handmade feel to it. And so, yeah, now we're getting rid of those dirt blocks, replacing them with more cobblestone foundation. And, yeah. And so now we're going inside, replacing the wooden blocks that we didn't get to for that first level with more cobblestone. Because that would be strange if there's random wood blocks there. But anyway, yeah, we're going to go outside again and look at our build. It is important when you're building to take a step back every once in a while and look at the progress that you are making on your build. It can help you determine what you want to do next, if you need to improve on anything, and so on. So what we're going to be doing now is taking some cobblestone stairs and slabs and adding another layer of detail to this foundation by placing these at random spots in front of the oak wood frame or the cobblestone foundation to make it appear like rubble. Make it appear that this house wasn't built perfectly. Again, it increases kind of the handmade feel of this house. Like you as a player built this house. And you don't have to place the stairs and slabs on every single block. It gives it more of a random feel if you don't place it on every single block. And that, again, adds to the handmade thing. So go around the entire house, placing those at random intervals. As you can see, it adds much more detail to the house as a whole. So, what we're going to do next is we are going to be using bone meal on the grass inside of our animal pen to give it more of a natural feel. And also, if you have like sheep or something in your pen, having some grass for them to eat. It's a very nice touch. For my example here, I will be spawning some cows inside of our pen, because why not? Just spawn some cows in there, and you can add some more of that foundation to the area inside of your animal pen as well, making sure that your animals will not be able to escape, of course, because you wouldn't want all of your cows running away. That wouldn't be good. So, what we're going to do next here is we will be adding we'll be introducing a new block to our build, and that is spruce wood. And when you're building, it is very, very important to have a defined palette, because you don't want to just build a house out of the most random blocks you can find, because there's a very good chance that if you do, it won't look as good as if you use a defined palette. Like a very, very common palette that builders use is several types of wood and several types of stone. This is a very, very common palette, especially in survival worlds, as these resources are very easy to gather. So, what we're going to be doing now is placing some wood trapdoors next to the windows, and these create a kind of wooden shutters that you can use on your windows, even though they serve no purpose in Minecraft. They look nice. This adds another layer of detail to your build, which is very, very important. It's important that you add these details to your build. So that is what I'm doing here. Just adding trapdoors to every single window. And it looks pretty cool if you take a step back from your build every once in a while, like I said before. You can kind of see how you're doing. So what we're going to be doing now is adding a second floor. Again, none of the stuff that I am doing right now is required. You don't have to do any of this if you don't feel like it. Houses do not have to have more than one floor. I'm just adding a second floor because it would add much more detail to this house. So, and your frame doesn't have to cover every single block that did on the first floor. It actually provides more detail if you do otherwise and leave some blocks empty. You can use these to create a small roof on your build, and gives the entire build an uneven, lopsided feel. If you only put like one of these on that is not centered on the build, like I am doing here. Create a small roof over the extra added room that I put in earlier, and the animal pen with the cows in it. And I will extend this roof all the way to the rest of the frames that I have placed earlier. And you will need to add in some more of the whatever kind of block you're using for the wall, because you don't want all the empty space in your wall. That wouldn't be very good. Unless you could add a window there if you feel like it, but that's not what I'm doing here. I'm just going to continue the roof. It's a very gentle sloping roof using both slabs and stair blocks. This adds more variety to the build if you use different types of blocks. Even though this is all the same wood, spruce, using a variety of slabs and stairs makes the build more interesting. So it's important that you utilize an overhang, one block on each side of your roof, because it provides an extra layer of depth that adds much more detail to your builds. So I will be creating a small overhang, 1 block overhang, and utilizing stair blocks so it's not a sudden overhang. It's more gradual. So I will continue this roof. This tutorial is in real time, so you don't have to add as much detail to your house as I am doing here. I'm just trying to get the point across that you can do almost anything you want in Minecraft to add detail to your builds. You can build anything you want. So you can skip through parts if you feel like it. This is not required. You don't need to have a second floor. You could just add a roof and be on with it if you want. So what I'll be doing here is placing blocks so the roof over the anvil pen is not as tall. This also adds much more detail to your build. And if you fill any empty spaces like that in, it ensures that mobs will not be able to spawn there. And I forgot to add trapdoors to this window, so I will be doing that now. Okay, so next we will be working on the main part of the second floor. So we will be extending our walls upwards and creating some more of those overhangs that I built earlier. So I will be continuing that on all sides of the build. And I will put some windows in later, but it is important to at least get a basic plan complete before you start adding in details like windows and trapdoors and anything else that you might want to use. It is important that you have at least a basic foundation before you start building. Planning is one of the most important steps in building. So now what we're going to be doing is we will be continuing the roof. There is not going to be a third floor on this house. You can make one if you want, of course. You can make like if you feel like it, you can make a really tall tower with as many floors as you like. You don't have to follow this tutorial block for block. I would actually prefer if you did not follow this tutorial block for block. You can if you want, of course, but this tutorial is meant to be for inspiration purposes and inspire my fellow builders to add more detail to their builds. Even if it's a survival world, you can still add detail to your base and make it stand out in your world. So again, it's very important to have an overhang on your roof, so it's not the wall just isn't a flat layer of blocks. So if you're adding another floor or floors, you will have to extend your frame a lot. So we will continue this roof upward, and you might have noticed that this roof is not perfectly symmetrical. This, again, like the foundation that we added earlier, it gives this house a handmade feel to it, which is a very, very effective building strategy if you would like to build in a survival type world. Survival building is a very, very rewarding experience because unlike creative mode, you have to work to gather all the blocks that you need to build your base and everything else that you might need to build. You have to work to gather materials and not just grab them from your inventory. It makes things way more difficult, but also way more rewarding, in my opinion. So as we finish off the roof here, it is important to keep in mind that your frame blocks do not necessarily have to be the same on the second floor as they are on the first floor. You can add framing in completely different places to make different segments on different floors of different segments of walls, and this again adds more detail to your builds and makes the entire thing not look as uniform. So I will be doing that later. I will be adding more frames and changing the way certain things are. You will see that very shortly, in fact. So you want to continue, finish the roof, because you don't want it to start raining while you're just doing whatever in your survival house, and it starts raining, and the rain is falling on your head because you didn't put a roof on your house. So what I'm doing here is extending the frame to make a kind of divider between the first and second floors of the house. And this also creates more segments that I can use to divide the house up and add more detail. And yeah, it started raining, so this is very, very annoying sometimes. But yeah, I changed the weather back to clear. Keep building. The weather can be one of the most annoying things that you will have to deal with in survival building, at least in my opinion, besides the creepers, skeletons, zombies, other hostile mobs if you are playing on something that's not a peaceful difficulty. It can be very annoying at times. But anyway, we are adding more stairs to add more detail to our segments that do not have windows on them. This provides more variety, and I will be using I'll be editing the foundation a little bit and placing some spruce fence blocks, just add a little bit more detail to the wall. So next, what we are going to do is change things up a little bit. I'm not going to use glass for the entire set of windows. I am using a fence block here to just add a little bit of variety. Small window just above the door, and this is more proof that like your windows do not necessarily have to be square. You can make your windows in any shape you want. Here I have decided to use a kind of different shape with like more trapdoors to create some more shutters on these windows. But yeah, I've decided to switch things up a little bit and change the way the framing is set up in this world, and extended that window you can see on the right a little bit, so it's not perfectly symmetrical, and I'm adding a small overhang of trapdoors over the top of the window. It's important to switch things up a little bit sometimes and create different things in each one of your builds. Make if a building is more unique, it is much more interesting to look at the different sections of the build and other things. So I have added some random fence posts on the roof, just hanging down. They add a nice touch, in my opinion. And I will add some more stair blocks to add some more variety in the walls. Make sure it's not completely flat. So this section of the wall is pretty much done. I'm going to add some more stairs there to switch things around a little bit, and I'll add some more here, just add more detail. Stair blocks are very, very, very effective at creating more detail in your builds. So I have used a lot, and I mean a lot, of stair blocks in this build. If you don't want to use them, you don't have to. You can use any kind of blocks you want. You don't even have to use wood. If you're building, for example, maybe an underground house, you would most likely use stone. If you're building a house in like a small cave or something, but you can use any block you want. It doesn't matter what block you use. So here what we're going to do is add a back porch. This is, in my opinion, a very, very nice touch that you can use. And it can also be very, very practical in survival because, like, just in case, like, there's a creeper lurking outside of your front door. Therefore, you can't go in there without the creeper blowing you up and potentially your house as well. So, a back door can be very, very practical, and it also adds a very nice touch. You can create like a backyard if you feel like it, maybe a garden, some crops, more animal pens if you want, maybe the entrance to a mine shaft. You can put anything you want outside your house or anywhere you want, in fact, in the world. So here I will be adding a small fence that separates the back porch from the rest of the outside world that is not your house. So I put those slabs here. I eventually changed my mind and got rid of those slabs. As you can see, I changed my mind because it wouldn't work with the door. But I realized later that the grass can add a very nice touch. And here we'll be introducing cobblestone walls into our palette. Cobblestone walls are very, very effective at creating pillars and fences and just adding detail in general to your build. And combined with fence gates, they can create very, very interesting fences. You don't even have to use regular fence blocks if you don't want to. You can use cobblestone walls, fence gates, anything. But also if you don't like the way the cobblestone walls are, as you can see, those are completely flat. If you don't like that, all you have to do is take some string and place it on the top of the cobblestone wall, and as you can see, it is hardly noticeable. You can just place it there, and no one will ever notice that you put string on top of your cobblestone walls to make them more detailed. Very, very useful strategy. So what we're going to be doing here is using a shovel to create some grass path blocks, to create a path leading up to your back door. And you can extend this beyond the entrance to your porch. You can extend this as far as you want. You can create a pathway maybe to a mine that you built, or a cave, or even a nearby village, anything you want. And I'm adding some bone meal to the grass to create some more natural, like, grass, tall grass blocks, flowers, other things. So here I'll be changing the frame a little bit to show that you don't, you can change your frame as you build. Just because you built a frame doesn't mean it's set in stone. You can change it whenever you want. And I have added a small window in that segment of the wall just to add some variety. And I will be showing you another very effective strategy to add some color to your builds, especially if you are using blocks like wood or stone. It can get very boring after a while. So if you want, you can add planter boxes outside with flowers in them. For this build, I will be using red tulips. And as you can see, they provide a lot of color to your build. It can make things look way more detailed and interesting. It can make your house feel like a home and not just like a temporary shelter you built to protect yourself from the creepers. It can be a home. And you don't even have to put planters by the windows. You can put planters anywhere you want. Just to add some nature. And I'll be adding some more fence blocks here to add a little bit more detail to this section of the wall. And you don't have to put planters in front of every single window either. It is actually very effective strategy if you don't put planters in front of every single window. You can do it if you want, of course. You can even switch up the kinds of flowers that you use to add more variety to your build. For this build, I have used only red tulips in the planters, but you can use any kind of flower you want. If red tulips aren't your thing, you can use almost any kind of, actually not almost, you can use any kind of flower, any kind of thing you want. You don't even have to put planters at all. They're just a nice touch. As you can see, they add way more color to these builds, and I will throw some in the animal pen as well. And I'm just going to throw in a small planter right there with the tulip in it. This adds a very, very nice touch to your build, especially if you replace some of your wall blocks with stairs. It ensures that the walls are not completely flat. And now I'm adding a separate path to the front door with using more path blocks. So now what I'll be doing is I will be using fence posts and torches to create a very simple lighting system to light up your path and make sure that creepers don't spawn outside because no one wants that. Unless you're in use of gunpowder, then you might want that, but the risk is very, very risky. You don't want them to blow up your house, especially if you worked very, very hard on it. So I am extending these fence posts upward to produce a support system for a small roof that I will add to protect the path and create like an overhead awning type thing for your back porch. I am again using spruce wood planks to match the other main roof that I added earlier to this build. And again, I am using a variety of slabs and stairs. Just adds more detail to your build. And if you decided to do this, you might need to change some things, like as you can see those trapdoors that were just there. Adding this roof resulted in the destruction of those trapdoors, as you can see later, and doesn't even have to be completely flat on a layer. As you can see there, I changed that a little bit. Yeah, so yeah, those trapdoors had to be destroyed. but you can't see the dirt block underneath because it's covered by a wooden slab. So yeah, there's the finished overhanging roof, and I added another torch with fence posts to light up the area because no one wants hostile mobs spawning really close to their house. That's never a good thing. So yeah, as you can see, there's we are almost done with the outside of the house. Pretty much done with that. So we're gonna go inside now and begin to decorate the inside of the house. So inside decorating, the interior design is not required, but if you do it, it makes your house feel less like a temporary shelter and more like a home. Make it feel more welcoming, if you will, inside. Just adding some small details in your interior. I created a small windowsill where you can look out at your world. Super flat world, just endless expanses of grass. But most likely you won't be building this in a super flat world. This is meant to be a survival house tutorial, but these strategies can be extended to any creative mode houses as well. I am adding a small awning over the door on the inside just to add a little bit more detail. Again, this is not required. So I decided to turn the little added room that I added at the beginning of the tutorial into a storage area. So I have placed a lot of chests inside of that area, along with a crafting table. You can turn extra rooms into anything you want. And it helps to add some item frames or something. Item frames, signs, anything. Label your chest with, and make it clear what you put in there. Especially if you have like a lot of chests. If you have gotten very, very far in your survival world and have a lot of stuff, it's important to organize those. So I'm continuing the frame inside the house. Kind of matches the windowsill thing that I put in earlier. I created a similar structure there. But now what I will do is create a way to get to the second floor, because right now there is nothing. So there isn't that much room for a proper staircase, so I will add in a ladder that you can use to get to the second floor of your house. It's very compact, and now you can see we're kind of presented with a dilemma here. We have all this empty space, a ring of those oak wood planks around the edge, and yeah. So what I've decided to do here is create a trapdoor over the ladder. Not a wood slab, a trapdoor. And I will also put flower pot on top of the trapdoor because it's nice decoration. Flower pots are very, very effective at using for decoration. And it is also important to light up your house because you don't want hostile mobs spawning in there. That's never a good thing. Because who wants to go up to their second floor of their house and find that some creepers have spawned in their attic? Like, no one wants that. So I'm using glowstone here. If you have not gathered any glowstone yet, you can create a small chandelier with torches if you feel like it. And the lighting doesn't even have to be on the ceiling either. You can place the lighting anywhere you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the ceiling. So I will put those trapdoors there. And I've decided to cover the ring of oak wood planks around the edge with a layer of spruce wood planks. And this creates a difference in the floor and also makes it possible for you to look out the windows. Because before they were too high for the player to look through unless you jumped. But now, with the addition of these slabs, you can just look through the windows at your world. It also adds some variety. So now for the decorating. What I'm doing here is adding some support pillars. Because even though you can defy gravity a lot in Minecraft, adding support for your roof or ceiling like I'm doing here just makes things feel a little bit more natural and not like it's defying gravity as much. So I am replacing the bed, and if you place the bed surrounded by slabs, it's a very nice touch. It looks somewhat like a sleeping bag. So I am placing more glowstone to use as lighting because that area was pretty dark. And so what I will do here is replace those spruce blocks with stairs to add a little bit more detail and also make it easier to walk around the area without banging your head on blocks. So what I will be doing here is to make the bed more accessible to the player. I am moving it one block outward and replacing those blocks behind it with bookshelf blocks. It is a very, very nice touch. You can put any block there. It doesn't have to be a bookshelf. You can put some chests or something if you want. A couple armor stands maybe. So adding a rug, if you have access to carpet blocks, it is a very effective strategy. If you have a bunch of empty floor space that you'd like to use as part of your build. So I'm adding some more bookshelves in this area because I'm going to turn this corner into a small enchanting area. Bookshelves make an enchanting table give somewhat stronger, more effective enchantments. So I will throw an enchantment table in here with some more bookshelves around it. And it looks pretty cool, in my opinion. So there's that enchanting table area. And so the next thing that I will be doing is throwing some more chests there. And it is important, if you have a solid block above your chest, you should replace that with stair block or slabs or anything like that. Because if you have a stair block above it, you'll be able to open the chest, as you can see here. But if you place that with a full block, you're not able to open the chest. So if you have chests right underneath the block, you should replace those with stairs to make, or slabs to make it so you're able to open the chest. So I will be adding some more torches on fence posts for lighting, because the corners of a house can get pretty dark, especially if all your lighting is in the center. Corners can get pretty dark sometimes. So go back to the first floor of the house and finish up decorating here. We're going to move all of our standard survival stuff someplace else and get rid of all the random torches everywhere. And instead, we will place the lighting in a more organized manner. So what we're going to do in this area of the build is add a furnace area. And another building strategy, if you place detector rails on top of a furnace block or blocks, it looks like the burners on top of a stove. Very, very effective strategy. It adds a little bit more detail to your build, and it also looks more realistic if you want to go for that kind of thing. And again, rugs are very effective at taking up empty floor space. So what I will do here in this area is I will add some more support systems for the ceiling to make it look like this build isn't defying gravity that much. And fence posts can also be used to add more detail to your builds. They're one of my favorite blocks to use while I'm building. So paintings are also very, very effective. If you have any empty space on a wall that you want to get rid of, a painting is a very, very good thing to put there. So we're going to add some more lighting, make sure the mobs don't spawn in our house. And we're going to add another painting in this area with some more lighting, and another painting in that same area. And it makes it a little more interesting to look at if you can get a variety of paintings. Okay, there we go. There's a different painting than the other one we already placed. So that's pretty much it for the inside. So go outside, and this house pretty much done, actually. As you can see, it looks so much better than what we started with, that wooden box. It looks way better. It would stand out way more in your survival world. And as you can see, it is not a perfect rectangle. We added those areas off the side to ensure that make the build more interesting. And also, if you place some trees or other nature items, such as leaf blocks to make bushes outside of your house, it gives the entire thing a more natural look to it, which looks very, very nice in my opinion. So, yeah, as you can see, we're pretty much done here. Yeah, so I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any suggestions for further, more things that I could build, or other tutorials, please leave your suggestions in the comments. This has been Car Fryer with building tutorial showing you how to add more details to your builds. And for now, goodbye and happy building.